this is an interesting story as we transition to the MLB. I don't really talk about baseball too much, but it is interesting that the New York Yankees, the presumptive number 2 team in baseball entering this year, off to its worst start since 1997. Worst 15-game start since 1997. The Yankees are 5-10 right now. They've got the worst record in the American League, the worst record in the AL East right now. They've lost 5 in a row. They've lost 8 out of their last 10 games. And there's certain markets in baseball and in sports in general, but especially in baseball, where you can afford to lose early, to get off to slow starts. Kansas City, if you're the Kansas City Royals, the Chiefs are really the talk of the town. The Kansas City Chiefs are the most popular team in Kansas City. Toronto, with the Blue Jays. The Toronto Maple Leafs in the NHL are much more popular. Even the Raptors, who just won an NBA championship, are more popular than the Blue Jays. You go to Detroit, the Pistons are bigger than the Tigers. The Detroit Red Wings, the Lions, those teams are bigger than the Detroit Tigers. There's certain markets where it's not acceptable, but it's more accepted to get off to slower starts. New York is not one of those cities. In New York, if you're a Yankee and you get off to a slow start and this horrendous start like you do, that's like walking into Hell's Kitchen and having Gordan Ramsey berate you through an entire dinner service. This is getting lambasted for undercooking chicken the entire night by Gordan Ramsey. There's a difference, a major, major difference. And that's what follows poor performances in New York. You are expected to get absolutely shredded. But you look at the difference with the Yankees is that this is a huge brand. The Cowboys, yes, are technically the biggest brand in sports. They're number 1 according to popularity. But the Yankees are number 2. The Knicks, also in New York, are number 3. And then the Lakers are number 4. The Yankees have won the most titles for a major sport, for a major American sport, with 27 in the United States. In fact, they've won not only in baseball, but for any major sport, period. In the U.S., the Yankees have the most titles, 27. The only exception is for a non-American sport is the County Cricket League, where the Yorkshire County Cricket Club have won 33 titles. Outside of that, the Yankees have won the most American sports titles. And yet we rebuke the Knicks. We look at them, we are appalled by the way that the Knicks sometimes treat their former players and all this news surrounding the Knicks. Yet the Yankees should be the talk of the town. And the fact that they are off to this horrendous start, this is a team that hasn't won a World Series since 2009. They've won 2 World Series in the 21st century, which you can say is good, but the Red Sox have won 4. And the Yankees, again, haven't been back to the World Series since 2009 when they won. The New York Nets, for crying out loud, have reached a World Series more recently than the Yankees in 2015. And it's interesting because I use the word enigma to describe the Miami Heat. The New York Yankees are the ultimate enigma because they're both puzzling and mind-boggling, but they're also frustrating and extremely disappointing. That they've been underachieving, underperforming all season long, and I can't pinpoint exactly why. It's like you're trying to crack the Da Vinci Code or locate the Bermuda Triangle or spot the Illuminati. It's hard to identify. It's hard to pinpoint why, because you look at this team and their roster is absolutely stacked, yet they just got swept by the Tampa Bay Rays. And their offense is what's killing them right now. Yes, their pitching needs to improve. And it seems like only when Garrett Cole is pitching, they can win games. But for whatever reason, they have not been able to string together consistent offense, which should have been this team's calling card. They've got the highest payroll in MLB, ahead of the Dodgers. They were my preseason favorite to reach the World Series with the Dodgers. And it's still early in the season, still 162 game season, so they've only played 15 games. But you look at their stats on offense. Aaron Judge, 4 for his last 28 at-bats. Aaron Hicks, 1 for his last 15 at-bats. Gleyber Torres, 3 for his last 24. Giancarlo Stanton, 3 for his past 26. Clint Frazier, 1 for his past 24. In fact, he hasn't even recorded an RBI in his last 40 plate appearances. And they're committing turnovers, 3 turnovers in the game. It's perplexing to me, and I'm just befuddled with what's been ailing this team. It doesn't make sense. They've got too much talent, and I think that Aaron Boone is a good manager, that they shouldn't be struggling this hard. This shouldn't be such an arduous start to the season. I mean, it's just one of the most perplexing sports topics and stories this year, given where we expected them to be. So I don't know what's going on, but they got to turn it around quickly. Again, they still have time to make it to a World Series, but off to a terrible start. This roster is immensely talented, but just grossly disappointing up until this point. So we'll see if we can turn around. Not to mention that in the 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays that they just played, so they were outscored 17-7 in those games. They produced 7 runs. 3 of them came off home runs. So in the other 3 games, 4 runs were produced not via the home run. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible.